Hey and welcome to the MX5 guide on the Circuito de Navarra in iRacing. Like for all my guides, you can practice against my ghost car, you can find the lap files on the community Discord, and you can find the telemetry on Garage61. And I have also a full playlist with up-to-date guides for the MX5 on my channel. You can find all links in the description down below. The first section of this track is a bit tricky, especially for a rookie series, which is why I decided to break it down with a simple strategy, which is easy to do and it allows you to drive consistent lap times, but I will also point out where you can gain about one additional tenth if you really want to push the limits. Let the car swing to the left edge of the track and hit the brakes shortly before you reach the tire marks on the track. You want to give the brakes a short, deep push and shift down into third gear. Coast into the turn and get back on the brakes when you reach this inside curb to slow the car further down for the next hairpin. That's the easy way. If you want to push, then you can brake a bit later and stray brake all the way around this curb without coasting at all. But that's a bit more technically challenging, and as you can see, it's not really needed to finish a good lap time. At the end of the day, it's up to you to decide what's best for you, if you want to brake twice and coast in between, or if you want to go for one long brake input which you need to adjust throughout the turn. Let the car swing to the left edge of the track as you brake into the turn, and I am manually blipping twice on both downshifts to have a bit more control over the car. A manual blip is a short throttle input at the same moment you are shifting down. They are not mandatory, but they make your life a bit easier if you can pull them off. You want to look out for those tire marks on the track, because they point you towards the apex of the turn and tell you when to turn in. On the exit, it's important that you are a bit mindful with your throttle. You don't want to step on it right away because the curb is a bit slippery, so engage it carefully and only step on it once you are sure that you got the car under your control. We want to exploit the track limits to get a good entry into the next high-speed turn, which is why you want to get with two wheels into the dirt. Don't worry, you won't receive an incident point as long as you keep two wheels on the track to the left of the white line. This white part of the curb is your next marker. When you reach it, then you want to lift and turn in towards the next apex. Attack the curb and get back on the throttle when you leave it to push the car back to the outside of the track. The next turn doesn't have a good brake marker. I'm using this dark patch and brake shortly before I reach it. You want to go hard on the brakes and shift all the way down into first gear. I'm using a manual blip on my downshift into first gear again to keep the car more stable. Point the car towards the curb and attack the throttle as soon as you can to maintain a high speed throughout the next high speed section. Drive onto the curb and hit the brakes shortly before you reach the dark spot at the end of it. I'm using a manual blip on my downshift into first gear again because braking on the curbs can be a bit tricky and it helps you to keep the car more stable. Attack the inside curb and again, be a bit careful when you engage the throttle. It's easy to lose the car around here when you are too aggressive, so only go flat out when you know that you got full grip on the rear. Drive on the curb and again, hit the brakes shortly before you reach the dark tire marks on the curb. I want to give you a fair warning though, because braking on the curbs can be quite difficult when you don't have a clean braking technique. If you go too hard on the brakes and trigger the ABS, then it will throw your car around because the grip level is different on the curb and on the track, which will overload the ABS. If you notice that you struggle a lot with braking on the curbs, then I would recommend you to drive along the curbs. It doesn't cost you too much time and it makes braking way easier. Shift down into first gear and I'm blipping on both downshifts just to make sure that I keep the car under my full control. Aim for a clean line and get back on the throttle when you touch the curb. Aim for the outside curb and hit the brakes right at the moment you drive onto the curb. You want to brake hard, shift into first gear and I'm using a manual blip again to keep the car more stable. And again, there's no magic, just aim for a smooth line around the inside curb. Drive on the outside curb and when you reach the end of this white area, then you want to give the brakes a soft touch to adjust your speed for the next left-hander. As you can see it here again in more detail, it was really only a soft touch on the brakes to hit a smooth line around the curb. When you reach the inside curb, then you want to carefully engage the throttle again and prepare to push the car onto the next straight. Again, drive on the curb and brake shortly before you reach the dark marks. If you struggle with braking on this curb, then you can again stay away from it and brake along it. I'm using a manual blip on my downshift into first gear like before to keep full control over my car. I'm going right here and onto the curb to have a bit more time to set the car up for the next braking zone. We went right in the last turn because you want to make sure that the car is aligned with the track when you reach this braking zone. It's really important that you drive parallel to the edge of the track, because if the nose of the car points to the left when you start braking, then you will make the next turn way more difficult than it really is. So make sure your car is aligned and hit the brakes when you reach the curb on the left hand side. You want to brake hard, shift into first gear, and I'm blipping twice again to keep full control over the car. Make sure you avoid the inside curb and get back on the throttle when you reach it. The trick on this exit is to listen to your car and open the wheel more than you think, because the rear can get a bit loose if your exit line is too tight. But even if it happens, the most important thing is that you don't panic. You will see that it happens to me on this lap as well. When it does, then you want to stay sharp, open your wheel and focus on the next lap. You can find the uncut cockpit lap in the description down below. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I wish you all the best for the next weekend. See you next time.